Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to be talking about getting some consistent AI videos using Stable Diffusion, trying to go for that corridor crew kind of look and stuff. I'm going to be talking about my workflow specifically. I don't know if every step that I'm going to talk about is exactly what corridor crew does. I'm just going to explain what I know from my experience and what I've seen from their videos. I know that they have like membership thing where they give more details and more in-depth explanations of how they did the anime video that they did. I think so. Don't hold that against me if I'm wrong. So I've done quite a few AI videos and people have asked me how I do them. And I've done some videos in the past where I explain a little bit of how I do it, but now there's a lot of new tools with like ControlNet. A lot of my old videos are kind of like, they're not really as useful anymore because a lot of new things have come out. So this will be a little bit of an update, a lot of old information mixed with a lot of new information. And just an FYI, I'm not going to go over all the details of how Stable Diffusion works because I want to make a video specifically for beginners after this video. This is for people that have already used Stable Diffusion and have some basic knowledge of how it works. All right, well, I'm excited. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to go over the points that I think the corridor crew did and also what I think the best workflow is. One is they use a green screen with all their shots. So that's a very, very easy way to separate the subject from a background. They trained the AI with images of themselves wearing the costumes they wanted the AI to generate. They also trained with a specific style. They stabilized the head and zoomed in to keep the noise from creating different results. Then they reverse stabilize the results. This technique, I don't think they used it in this one, but they did definitely use it in the Spider-Verse video. Maybe it was too much work for such a long video. What they really relied on is the training the AI with images of themselves. Then they get the generated sequence and put it into a software where they remove the background. Then they use a deflickering tool. Specifically, the one that they use is from DaVinci Resolve Studio and drastically removes all the flicker and jitteriness from the AI video. They used images of 3D models to generate the backgrounds with the style they trained. And they used a bunch of other stuff like glow effects and a bunch of other effects. But these are the main things that they used to create that anime story. So you can use green screens. It would make your life so much easier if you use a green screen. But if you don't have footage with a green screen, then you have to find a way to remove the background if you want to make it look clean, if you want to add your own background. I find that I get a little bit better results when I do remove the background and just let Stable Diffusion look at the subject alone without anything. But it's really up to you. You can do this, but with Corridor Crew, they definitely remove the background, but they use green screen. So the first thing you want to do is something very obvious, but you want to make sure you find a clip that you like. Depending on the technique that you want to go for, because I'm going to explain a little bit of different techniques for different purposes. There is a technique where I will do some face tracking, like locking in the face and stabilizing the video so that it follows the face, and then you would zoom in to that face and then run it through Stable Diffusion. So I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the video, but basically choosing your clip is going to really depend on what technique you want to use, because you can just run Stable Diffusion as is with ControlNet. You get some really decent, consistent results. But if you want to get like really nice face consistency, you would definitely want footage where you can lock to the face. And if you have somebody turning around, moving their head like crazy, then it would be very difficult to lock to something that's moving like crazy. In this case, I will be using one that's easy to follow. This person's face is up front the entire time and it's easy to lock to their face. You can use any footage. You can follow all the steps except the part where I get to where you lock to the face. You can skip that and you will still get some decent results. I will be using Adobe software. I have a video where I explain how to use DaVinci Resolve to do some of these steps. So you can watch that video. There should be a link above and also in the description. Just in case you don't have Adobe Premiere or Adobe After Effects and you want to use an editing software, then DaVinci has a free version and you can check out my video of how to use that to do some of these steps. In this case, you can use DaVinci to do what I'm about to do right now. You want to choose the section that you want. Like I would want to start like from like right here, you know, and just cut it to where you want it. And then I don't want this part here. I just want it to end here. And then you cut it. I go to the beginning of the clip and press I to get the beginning, and then press O to get the out. It always does the frame before, so I just bring this in like this. So once you pick your footage, you can export it as 16:9, or you can just change the dimensions. Sometimes I like to go like 1:1, so here in this case 1080 by 1080, and sometimes I like to export it like this. In this case, I do want to export it like this, so I go to export by pressing Control M. Now if you go to range, source in and out, it's going to export that selection that you made. Name it whatever you're going to name it, and then make sure that for frame size, if it's not the right frame size, then you click here, then it's going to make it the right frame size, and then you export it. So now you have your video footage, the way you edit it. Then you can use Runway green screen. You can use the free version to do this. It only lets you export it as 720p, but it's fine for what we're going to use it for. I'm not going to go over in detail how this works because I have a video about it already. You can check it out. There should be a link above. But it's just a quick introduction to how it works. You just click on your subject, and then it automatically picks some sections already out and what you want to keep in there. You make corrections as you go, and then you can see, you can kind of preview how it's going to look. Yeah, so this is a way to remove a background. Like I said, I definitely recommend it. So now that you have your background removed, then you bring it back into your editing software. I personally like to use After Effects for a lot of this stuff, because with After Effects, you can use the face stabilizing and all that stuff. So from here, I'm going to be working on tracking the face and then exporting it as a JPEG or as a PNG, whichever you prefer. I would talk about how to do face tracking with DaVinci, because I have done it, but the problem is reverse stabilizing is kind of tricky with DaVinci, and I haven't learned how to do that. So if you are using DaVinci, you can skip this part and go to the part where I'm talking about stable diffusion. So you got your clip here. You want to add Mocha AE to this. The reason why you want to stabilize and track the face is because when you put an image into stable diffusion, there's like a certain noise pattern that stable diffusion sees with the image that you put in there, depending on your settings. When you lock something like the face in place, then it's not moving around within that noise pattern. And so typically the reason you get so many different results when you're trying to create an AI video with stable diffusion is because when someone is moving, all that noise pattern is changing drastically. When you lock the face and you track it, it locks to that noise pattern, and you will get very consistent results because of that. Now, the trick is to stabilize it and then reverse stabilize it. Yeah, so that's the reason we will lock the face in this case. So I come up here to where the spline is, this little button here, and then I go around the face, and especially in areas where I feel like there's not going to be a lot of changes happening, and maybe I just want to lock into facial features. I make sure I'm in classic mode in this case. Come down to here to parameters and then track. Make sure that you have translation, scale, and rotation, and you tick off shear, and then you just track it. Seems to be doing a pretty decent job here. You can test out how it's going to look up here where it says activate quick stabilize mode. Play it and you can kind of see how it's going to stabilize it. Yeah, doesn't look bad, right? Control S to save. You close this. From here, you want to come here to where it says tracking data. Then you create track data. You select the layer that you were just tracking all the stuff at. Press OK. And then from here, you put in an effect. You put in power pin on there. And here you're going to press Alt, left click on each one of these, but we're going to start one at a time. So top left. Click on that, and I'm down here. This thing opens up where it says top left, and then select this pick whip. You bring it up to where it says top left here in Mocha, and then you repeat this for each one of these. So top right, pick whip, top right, bottom left, pick whip, bottom. Then Alt, left click, bottom right, and then pick whip, bottom right here. All right, so once you do that, then you come to here to where it says invert, and now it should be stabilized. And then from here, you just press S to bring up scale, and then you scale it up, move it to where the face is in the frame, and then you're locked right there. If it's not stabilizing the way you want it to, then you can always come back to Mocha make the changes, and then come here to create track data, and it should adjust automatically. And then from here, you export it as frames. To export, you can either do media encoder or add to render queue. Come here to output module, pick JPEG sequence or PNG sequence, whichever you want. Save it to a folder, and it's going to export it into images like this. And then from here, we can go into Stable Diffusion. One thing to keep in mind is if you want somebody to look like a certain person, like I know with the Corridor Crew, they wanted the AI that was being generated to look like them. So they had to train the models to look like them. Not everyone gets into training models because it is a bit of a time invested, and it really is an art on its own. The closest thing I can accomplish was doing LoRA training. And basically LoRA training is not creating a model from scratch, but using an existing model and then just adding stuff to it, like the likeness of a person or of a style. I did this video where there's this guy dressed up as Dudley. I try to see what kind of results I would get without training it with LoRA. I know Dudley is not really a popular or famous character. And the reason I say that is because I was actually struggling to find a lot of artwork from Dudley. So, because I was trying to train LoRA with Dudley art, but I wasn't sure if training with those images was going to give me the results that I wanted. So I just ran it without training, and this is the results I got. That's with Deflickering. This is how it came out straight from Stable Diffusion. There's a lot of art out there, and they're so drastically different in style that I wasn't sure I was gonna get the results that I wanted. Maybe I would have. I tried it and I didn't get good results. So here I downloaded a 3D model and I put it into Mixa mode to get it rigged, and also to get some weird and cool animations. And I put it in Blender and put them in different poses and took screenshots of him. But the reason I'm talking about this is because you want to train with a specific character, right? And there's all kinds of different art styles out there. The way I was able to get, like, I'm going to show you the results I got. I did face locking, but I also did training. And so because of that, I was getting some really good results. Obviously this was deflickered, so it looks even cleaner that way. The reason I did this is because it would be like literally what Corridor Crew did, where they took photos of the person that they wanted to train the AI with. And this is a model that's consistent in every angle. So it's not going to change in style. It's always going to be the same model. It's going to be the same face without any changes. So I just took a bunch of screenshots from different angles and trained it in LoRA. And that's how I was able to get these results, like right here. So that's not the flickered, but then I think I did the face locking with this one. So that's why that looks good too. So yeah, so this is without face lock. And as you can see, there's a little bit of jitteriness happening here. This doesn't look bad. So this is the results from just running the whole body without the face lock. And because of the training that I did with LoRA, it was giving me some really good results, mainly because he's wearing a very similar outfit, if not almost identical outfit to the 3D models that I used to train LoRA, which are these. Obviously, looks different. I think I could have pushed the style even more if I actually took a bunch of photos of the cosplayer and then ran that through LoRA. I think I would have gotten even way better results. It would have looked more like the cosplayer, the way he looks, but I would have been able to push a little bit more style to it. That's kind of the key thing, is the training is one of the key things. But face tracking, if you can do it, and if you're just doing like one short clip, maybe for like an ad or for something, the face locking is something that I would recommend, because you can get really consistent results and you can add a little bit more style. One thing that I noticed about the Corridor Crew is that they had to go for a more realistic style where the eyes are not exaggerated. They had to exaggerate their expression so that it can give it like that anime feel. So I guess it's also with the style. They picked the style that's more realistic. But if they would have picked the style from, like, for example, like Dragon Ball or something, then that wouldn't have worked, because Dragon Ball has like these weird eyes that their eyes are stuck to their eyebrows and stuff. So yeah, so that wouldn't have worked. But when you do face locking, it allows you to do something like this, where you have way bigger eyes than the actual person from the video. That's a good thing to keep in mind. That's why I wanted to talk about face locking here, because that gives you an option. Because this gives you an option to go this route if you want. You don't have to. I think the training is obviously the biggest thing. So we're gonna try to train in LoRa. So I wanna give credit to AITREPRENEUR because I followed his tutorial to learn about this. So definitely go check out his channel. He has so much more of the technical stuff that I don't really know about that much. He has a wealth of information, so definitely go check out his channel. I just want to give credit to him because he's the one who showed me how to do this through his videos. So basically you come into this website, I'll put a link in the description. So this is what we need. It's the required dependencies. You need to install Python and install Git. If you have not installed those, and which you should already have these already if you have Stable Diffusion installed, they're here in case you need to install them. So install Python and Git, but you also have to install Visual Studio. So make sure you download that, save it, and install it. So once you install that, you want to click on your Windows button and then put in PowerShell. And you want to make sure that you run this as administrator. From here, you want to copy this right here, and you're going to paste it into this window that appeared in the PowerShell. And then you press enter. When you get to this point, it's going to ask you a question. You're just going to press A, and then you press enter. And then you're done for this part. Okay, so you close this. So you want to create a folder where you're going to keep everything. And in this case, I made a Kohya folder right here, right next to where my Stable Diffusion folder is at. So just make a folder, name it, and you want to go into this folder. So when I come here to Kohya, I'm going to type in PowerShell, press enter, and it's going to open it exactly where that folder is at. So from here, you're going to come back into GitHub, and right under where it says open a regular user PowerShell terminal and run the following commands, there's a way to copy it right here. So you just can copy it right there. And then you come back here and then you paste it. Paste anyways, and just let it install. This might take a while, so just be patient as it installs. Once it's done installing everything, you're gonna get to this point where it says accelerate config, and then you just press enter. From this point on, you're gonna get a few questions it's gonna ask you. And the first question is, in which compute environment are you running? And in this case, it's going to say this machine, and then you just press enter. Here, it's gonna say which type of machine are you using. Here, don't move anything, just choose no distributed training and press enter. Do you want to run your training on CPU only? You're gonna type in no, then enter. Do you wish to optimize your script with Torch? You're gonna put no. Deep speed? No. What GPU should be used for training this machine? And just put all, enter. Do you wish to use FP16 or BF16? Here you're gonna choose FP16, so you just use your down arrow to go down and press enter. And then from here, you're pretty much done, but there's another option for you to get faster training speeds. If you have a 30 or 40 series graphics card from NVIDIA, if you do have that and you want to use this, then go to this link to download. I'm just going to save it here for now in this folder. So once this is downloaded, you just extract it. So once you extract it, you go into the folder and you select it, press Ctrl+C to copy it. You go back, go into the Kohya folder, and you paste it in here. Ctrl+V to paste it. Then you go back to GitHub and you want to copy this code right here. You copy that, you come back to PowerShell and you paste this code. You paste anyways, and then you just press enter and then you're done. So if I come into this folder, you have two things we want to pay attention to. One is upgrade.ps1 and then GUI.bat. If you come to upgrade PS1 and you right click, you can run it with PowerShell and it's going to update it. And then mine's already updated, so it's fine. After that, I go to GUI.bat and it's going to give me a link similar to when you open up Stable Diffusion and then you control left click to open the link. And then you're here. And then from here, the first thing you want to do is you want to get some high quality images with different angles. In this case, when I was working on this video where I had Dudley, I actually got a 3D model, put it into Blender, and then I took a bunch of screenshots from different angles. These are probably a little bit overkill, probably don't need as many as I took here. I just took a bunch of them just to be able to choose the ones that I like the most. Like supposedly with LoRa, the dimensions doesn't matter, but to be safe, you can go here to Birme.net and you can bring, whatever images you want into here. And you can align it however you like. If you want to do it this way, just to be safe and you know that it's focused on the thing that you want it to be focused on. Yeah, you can move these to be within the frame like this. You line them up, however, and then you can save as a zip. Then you should have a bunch of 1x1 square images like this. So the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need like some text files that are captioning what's in these images. And a quick way to do it is if you come to Kohya, you can have it do it automatically for you, and this should help you save some time. I don't want it to take as long, so I'm just going to delete a bunch of these just for demonstration's sake. From what I understand, you at least need like 10 images, different angles. Make sure that the images are high quality. So you copy the URL. So you come here to utilities and you want to come to blip captioning here. You paste it here where it says image folder to caption. Then click on caption images. It's going to load these text files inside of your folder where you have your images. So actually I went in and out of the folder again so that it can show me like side by side which text is to which image. So I click on this one right there, and it says a man in the green overalls and boxing gloves. So what I like to do is I like to just put the name of the character, in this case just Dudley, and green overalls and green boxing gloves, like blue boxing gloves, side view or whatever. Just kind of describe what's in the image. Full body side view, full body side view. And then you save it, Control S to save it. And you go and do that for each one of these. Here I put Dudley in green and white outfit. You can be a little bit more descriptive. I'm just kind of showing you like the general thing that you do. Once you're done with all the captioning, you're going to create a new folder. In this case, I just called it Dudley LoRa. Inside this LoRa folder, you're going to create 3 folders. One is image folder, another is model folder, and the last one is log folder. Inside the image folder, you're going to create another folder. The way you're going to name this folder is super important. You're going to put a number and then a name. In this case, depends on how many images you're going to train. Let's say, for example, here we have 13 images, right? You have to calculate 1500 divided by the amount of images you're using. In this case, it's going to be 13. So it's 115. So I come into this, back into here, and I'm going to put 115 underscore Dudley, because that's the name of the character. Let's say, for example, you do 1500 divided by 20, you have 75, and that's less than 100. So by default, you want to make it 100. So if you get results that are less than 100, you want to make sure that you have 100 here always. So if it's less than 100, put 100 automatically. If it's more than 100, you put whatever that number is here, underscore, and then whatever you want to name it. So now when it comes to the settings, I'm going to have 2 files for you. One is for basic settings for just most cases, and one is if you have low VRAM, if you have under 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So depending on what system you have, you use one of these. So I'll put a link to how to download those in the description. So this should just help you with the settings and you don't have to worry about anything. Once you download those, you want to come to here to Dream Booth LoRa. You want to come here to configuration file, and you're going to put open and choose one of these files right here. In this case, I'm going to use LoRA basic settings. And when you come to training parameters, then it should all be set up here for you. So that makes it super easy. Then you come here to source models. You're going to pick what you're going to base your model off of. For me, the safe thing is just 1.5 right here. So this is going to be the model that is going to train the LoRA on. You can do that. Make sure that you have safe tensors right here. So once you pick that, you come here to folders. You want to click on this folder right here where it says image folder. You're going to go where you created the 3 folders. You're going to go into image, and then you're going to select this folder. Don't go inside it, just select it and then press select folder. For the output, you're going to go to the model folder and select that. And the login folder, you're going to go to the log folder and select that. Here you're going to put the name of the model. So in this case, just Dudley. And then you click on train model. And that should take a few minutes for training to happen. Once you're done, you come into the model folder and you should have this file right here. You can copy that, go into your Stable Diffusion Web UI folder. Then you go into models, you go to LoRa, and then you paste it right here. And then you should have this in your LoRa files. Now, what we do is we go to Stable Diffusion. So once you're in Stable Diffusion, you want to go to Extensions, Available, Load From. You want to come down here into where it says Kohya, SS Additional Networks, Models Installed. you make sure that you install it. Once that is installed, you want to come here to this tab where it says installed, and then apply and restart UI. And then you should have this tab up here that says additional networks. From here, pretty much the way it works is you come into this little icon right here where it says show extra networks. You click on that, you go to LoRa, and you have all of your LoRa train files here. So in this case, I have Dudley. You click on one of these, then this should appear, and this is what activates the LoRa. Right here, you just put in anything you want, like whatever you want. You can put in Dudley smelling a rose, and then you put this, no matter what, it's going to create an image based off of that. Let me go actually text to image. So as you can see, it's heavily influenced by the model that I trained, like very much so. So what you might have to do is, you see this number right here? It says 1. You might have to reduce that. So in this case, I put in some prompts, and then I put Dudley 0.9. And as you can see, it's doing like a pretty decent job. And so yeah, it's a little bit not as clean looking, but I guess you can mess around with the CFG scale. Let me actually lower this slightly. You see, the more you lower this number here, the less it will be looking like the model that you trained. Yeah, obviously you can bring up the scale maybe for higher quality stuff. So yeah, it's giving me a little bit higher quality images. So yeah, so that's how you train in LoRa. So once you have it set up, now you can bring some images where you can do some image to image. So you see, it's definitely heavily influenced by the model. Look at his chin. It's not the person. Like ideally you would want to take images of the person with the outfit, like the actual person. But in this case, I don't have images of this cosplayer. But normally it would work a lot better. But anyways, you can obviously mess around with the settings. Maybe this is a little bit too strong, and also maybe lower the weights. Slowly starting to get a little bit better results. Yeah, so you pretty much get the idea of how this works. You can mess around with it, see what kind of results you get. So this is a good way to get a little bit more consistency because you're training it on a specific kind of model and character. So in this case, when I did this video, I did not train it with LoRa, but I did find in Civet VI, I think that's how you pronounce it, my hero. So I found this LoRa right here, and I used this one, and then I just copied some of these prompts. Some people ask me about the prompts. You can literally come into here, look for a model, and look for an image that you really like, and then just click on the image, and then it shows you the prompt and the negative prompt. Down here too, if you put in the I right here, it gives you the prompt, the negative prompt. It even tells you the CFG scale and everything, the seed and everything, which is really cool. But yeah, so I downloaded this LoRa. I put it into here, and I bring in the LoRa through here. So like My Hero Academia right here. That's where it brings in the LoRa. As you can see, I was struggling to get some really good results. I was getting some really ugly results. Like, oh my gosh, look at this. So yeah, don't worry if you're getting bad results at the beginning. Like, look at this. It took me a while before I started to get something interesting like this right here. But then at some point I thought, like, I got to remove the background. So I did remove the background. And some of these too, like, look at these. Some of these looked okay. Some of these didn't look so good. I mean, this just looks too realistic for me. And then this was starting to go in the direction that I really wanted. Yeah, so it takes a lot of tries before you get what you want. So in this case, I use 2 different LoRas. And since I'm using 2 LoRas, I just split, when you put the LoRa in, like the thing that triggers it, it has a number right here at the end. And this pretty much determines how much does a LoRa influence the final image. And if you put 1, it's going to be very strong, but sometimes it just doesn't come out right. It looks weird. So sometimes you have to bring it to 0.5 or 0.7 or a number that, you know, mess around with the numbers from, 1 downward and try to see what looks good. And here I split this anime style LoRa and My Hero Academia LoRa, and then I split it half and half, 0.5 and 0.5. Ultra detailed illustration of Uvarity. I don't even know how you say that girl's name. Like gravity, like her power is like gravity or something like that, right? And then I put the negative prompts right here. Negative prompts. So what you want to pay attention to is your denoising strength. You want to keep it at a decent level. What did I have it on? Oh, I had it really high. Yeah, I had it high. That's the cool thing about when you lock in the face and you lock the noise, is that you can bring up the denoising strength and you can bring up the style pretty strong and still get really good results. Typically when you bring this up high, you just get some wild results and it just goes crazy, and it's not what you really want. Yeah, I'm gonna put the good seed. And then I think the CFG scale, I had it at 7, so I didn't have that very high. And then honestly, where a lot of the magic happens, and this is where it's really going to get you the results that you want, is on control net. So you come in control net, you enable one. I typically like to use Canny. Canny just gives me a really nice outline and I just really like it. I enable it, I get a second one and I enable that. I like to go with head or normal map. Between those two, I think I used head for this one. Head, I don't know how you say this. HED, I call it HED sometimes, I don't know. Anyways, and I like to, if you put them too strong, let me actually run this. Okay, for Canny and head, I made it 0.5. So if you push these too hard, then you start to get really bad results. So I like to bring at least one of them down, not like both of them down actually. And you see, bringing those down already gave me a way better result, and it still has this to guide it. It's not a lot of detail here. I can bring it down more, but basically give you a gist of how I got that. Sometimes we think by pushing these really hard, we're gonna get some really good results, but sometimes you just gotta bring it down a little bit to get the results that you want. I also have this noise multiplier for image to image. If you wanna know how I got that, so you go to settings, go down to user interface, and you put in initial _ noise _ multiplier. And then you just apply settings, and then you can get this up here. Some people asked me about this last time, so that's what I'm saying. And I like to bring this up. It's gonna add a little bit more style to this, and I can definitely push it because I am locking the face, like I said, and then I just added a little bit more to it. So what you wanna do is, once you get some really nice results, if you're not getting good results, just check your settings for control net. You can mess around with that, bring those a little higher, bring it a little lower. A lot of you guys get errors because you push it, you bring the width and the height too high. And I know a lot of you have been getting a lot of errors because of that. So just be careful of that. And your denoising strength, in this case, I'm able to push it because, like, I'll show you. If I put another one that's a different image, because I stabilize the face, I'm getting some pretty decent results. It doesn't look wildly different. Yeah, so you get a few frames, mess around with it. I was getting some issues when for this part of the video where her eyes are closed. And it's not happening here, but I was having an issue before where the eyes were still open in the generated image. So what I did is, if I was happy with the other images when her eyes are open, I just ran the whole thing, and then I ran it again. But in the second time that I ran it, I made sure that I put closed eyes right here. Oh, actually I did have closed eyes here. You see that? Maybe that's why her eyes are closed in this one, but it actually kept her eyes open on all the other ones. So yeah, it worked out great. So you can even just have eyes closed sometimes, I guess, and it'll still give you eyes open when their eyes are open. Yeah, so I put eyes closed, and that helped me get the eyes the way I wanted it. That's the benefit of stabilizing the head. That's the benefit of that. Then you just want to run the body. This time you want to export like the full frame, the full body. And when you can run very similar settings that you did here. I think pretty much the same thing. Maybe just if you want to change things like that are very specific for a close-up, like portrait or whatever, then you can make the changes, but you can essentially leave everything the same. I'll show you the results that I got. This one has a lot more style to it, but then the fingers get all crazy and wild in this one. So that was a downside. There's some movement with the fingers, and it was going kind of crazy with the fingers. You can see her face doesn't look too bad. Like, there is a little bit of changes in the eyes. It doesn't look too bad. If you have to run it without stabilizing the face, then you're still gonna get some decent results. You can still fine tune it a little bit if you want to. It also depends really on whether it's a close-up of the face or if it's not. So technically you don't have to lock in if you don't want to. You can maybe just zoom in, and with control net you can get some good results. So if you want to test that, you can zoom in. You don't have to stabilize it if you don't want. Just test out zooming in. If the person is not moving too much, then maybe just zooming in can also give you some good results, but I just haven't tested it. So you just make sure you have some consistent images. Then you go to batch, go to your folder where all your frames are at, and then just paste it in input directory, and then you can paste it again and just change the name to like out, and then it'll create a new folder with the same name and then out at the end, and then you press generate, and then you should get a batch with all the images like this. And so you come into whatever software you're using and then just import the sequence. You go to the sequence, press the first image. It should be numbered, and then make sure this is clicked where it says PNG sequence or JPEG sequence, whatever. Click the first one and then import it, and it should import as a sequence. When you bring the sequence in, it automatically makes it 30 frames per second. So just make sure you know what the frame rate of your video is. In this case, it's 23.976. So every time I put in a sequence in here, I have to go to interpret footage, main, and then change whatever the frame rate you want to use in here. And then you press OK. And then it should interpret it, and it should be the frames that it should be. So in this case, this is the results that I got, and you can see that, look at this, look at the eyes. It's crazy, look at, and that's her eyes. Those are this is a little bit shifted off. Like I must have moved it slightly. Look at the size of these. Like these are like anime eyes, right? And look at her eyes. They're just way smaller, and it's still keeping that consistency. It's still keeping the shape of the eyes, even though they're way bigger. Let me show you another result that I got. This one also turned out really good. However, I didn't go with it because look at how the eyes are starting to change sizes here. You see? And I didn't like that. I don't like that it changed sizes like that. And the reason it's doing that is because of my tracking. I had to go and readjust my tracking and get something that was a little better. And once I adjusted it, then I got these results. So just mess around with the tracking, make sure that it's consistent. Here, her eyes are not closed. Like I said, I ran it twice. I ran one with those that eyes closed and one that wasn't with eyes closed. So I layered this one on top. So yeah, so I used this one where her eyes are closed, and then they open up right here. And then this layer on the bottom is where her eyes were open. So the tricky part now is to reverse stabilize this. So the way you reverse stabilize this is you want to parent the generated sequences to the original video. Make sure both of these are parented to the original video, and then go to the original video and then press Control-Alt-F. It should fit it to the frame. Then you got these images, but it's still stabilized. And even if you take the stabilization off of the original image, the generated images are still moving like they're stabilized. So the way you work around that is, let's make a copy of the original video. Now with that duplicate, let's select the generated sequences and then right click and pre-compose and just whatever. I'm just gonna pre-comp one, come into the comp right here, and you can actually just remove the duplicate layer right here under here. Now you come to the original clip right here, and then you click on Mocha and Power Pin, and you Control X or Control Copy, whichever. I want to just Control Copy and then just deactivate these, and then apply it to the comp that we just made, and then just Control V. Then from here, you press Unstretch. Now it is reverse stabilized. So now it will follow the original footage. Very cool, right? And then from here, you can go back into the comp. So in this case, let's get the little pen tool. And let's mask her face. And then once we masked it, you come here to mask, and then we feather it. Now when we come here, we have a really consistent face on her. There's jitteriness, but oh no, that's not the right one. That was not even the right one. This is the one where her eye is kind of like not consistent. But anyways, you get the point. And then basically all you got to do is once you generate the body, bring the sequences where the body's at, just put it on top of this layer. And now you got your animation, pretty consistent with the style. And then you just put your background. So what you can do is you can come back into Stable Diffusion again, go to text to image and put a background, whatever you want to put, and just put the background behind this, and you have something that looks really cool. So the last step you want to do before removing the background is you want to remove all this jitter and flicker that's happening in the video. The way that Kohya crew did it is they used DaVinci Resolve Studio to use the Deflicker plugin in there. So I did a video about this. If you want to check that out, there should be a link above and in the description. But a lot of people were complaining that the rendering times are pretty insane. But I have a little trick for you that I want to teach you today. If you are getting these crazy rendering times, you can just come into Fusion, you put shift space, and they put a dirt removal. After this, they put a deflicker. So as you can see, I loaded up Fusion with a bunch of deflicker nodes, and you might be thinking, bro, that's gonna take you like 5 hours to render. Well, if you let this render in here and you just press space and just let it render like this, where it starts to run smoothly, it probably takes like about 4 minutes or so. But if you let it just play out, then you go to deliver, then you name it whatever you want, fast. Then you add to render queue, you render all, bam. Literally seconds and it's rendered. So I don't know why, if you don't do it this way, it takes literally hours to try to render like a very short clip. So there's a little trick for you. So no problem, I got you. That big old project you were working on is now something you can do pretty quickly, thanks to me. Or you already knew this and this is just nothing new. So anyways, some people didn't know. So for those that didn't know, that's how you do that. In the final video, I just used 3D tracking to have the background move with her. So I was kind of moving around her, so I couldn't just use a 2D background in this case because it would just look weird. And let me show you. If you guys would like me to talk about 3D tracking and how to implement 3D elements into your generated AI videos, then let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys want that. I would love to make a video about 3D tracking and how to use that in Blender. Blender's totally free, and also there is a 3D tracker in Blender, so we can always use that. Or we can use After Effects and Blender together, or just Blender. So let me know if you're interested in that. I would love to make a video about that. I just don't want to make this video super long, and hopefully this video wasn't too long. I don't know, I'm gonna have to edit it. If you have any questions, I would try to answer as much as I can. There's just so many people that ask me so many questions, but if you go into my Patreon and support me through there, you will definitely get an answer from me. So join my Patreon and I'll help you out through there. So that's my workflow and how I get consistent results. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If you learn anything and if you make videos, definitely tag me, let me know. Let people know that where you got this info from. I really do appreciate it, because then people can watch the videos and then this helps me out, and then I can make more videos and I can make more tutorials, and you know how that goes. So I appreciate everyone. Please, if you haven't subscribe, like the video. It really does help me out a lot. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Like always, take care. God bless. Peace.